I'm emotional about it. It's war, and this is what you hope never happens again, especially living through one. So, not gloom and doom. I'm sorry if I come off that way. It's just you have to be a realist about it and understand what's going on and listen in groups like this, because this is where you'll get your information. You're not going to get it here in the United States, anyways, on network news or cable network news. You'll get some of it, but this is far better. So, thanks for your time.
No worries. I totally echo your sentiments. I'm Bosnian. I was in Sarajevo during pretty much the whole siege of Sarajevo, which for you guys that don't know is the longest siege of a city in modern military history. After that, I was a refugee in a refugee camp. What these people going through, like when I see Kiev, I literally see Sarajevo. When I see those women with their kids, I see me and my mom. When you see those grandparents and those old people, I see my grandparents. When you see just everything looks like not so distant history repeating itself. I really get the deep sentiments that this brings out in people. So I just want to, for what it's worth, I just want to let you all know that what you feel at the moment is pretty normal. I have a question for William. William, could you discuss the fact that freezing weather is incoming from Siberia, which would make Russian vehicle operations off-road easier?
Wait, what? Freezing weather is or isn't coming from Siberia, huh?
Freezing weather is coming from Siberia, which would make Russian vehicles operations off-road easier? That was the question.
So that depends. With vehicles, ice can be just as bad as mud with some vehicles. So there's like there's a golden period of not too icy, not too muddy, or after it's dried out. So it depends on how long that's going to stick around. um and we'll have to see, if it's going to be a week or something. Yes, that's going to affect things. If it's going to be a day or two, that cold's not going to penetrate far enough into the ground to really make a difference at this point. You have to think of the weight of the armored vehicles that we're talking about, although wheeled vehicles may have a little bit more mobility. But also, as we see Russian vehicles go off the roads, they become dispersed, and we've seen that their command and control is really bad. So you're probably going to have more opportunities for the resistance groups and those Ukrainian military groups that are operating to pick them off one by one, which, of course, is a lot easier than picking them off when there's 20 of them.
Okay. Also, another question about drones. Can we fly drones from the United States and make them effective in Ukraine?
Of course we could. We would also cause World War III if we did so. So we're not going to.
So I guess that brings up the issue of deniability. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but if we did do that, we would have deniability, right?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, the military radar and everything, we know what's in that airspace. They know what's in that airspace.
No. Okay. Thanks, William. Next question. What would it take for Putin to be charged with war crimes, and is that something that could be done? Do you want to go on this? Or Konda, or do you want me to?
I'm sorry. I mean, you can charge him all you want, but he's still the head of state in Russia, so it's kind of like charging the leader of North Korea with war crimes. It's a nice kind of show and a virtue signal. I'm not saying it's not something that shouldn't happen. But at the same time, it's just, in my opinion, I just don't think it's gonna do anything. I don't think it's gonna happen. Because imagine a country bringing up charges of war crimes. Well, I mean, I think NATO, we've pretty much blown relations with Russia at this point, but uh, thinking forward, if they want to diplomatically deal with this, like let's say, things can change fast. So let's say in the future we do have an opening where, okay, Putin's like, okay, I was wrong. I'm going to pay Ukraine this much. I'm going to pull all my troops out, whatever. Well, then they're going to have some sort of diplomatic calculus, and I just think NATO's too lame duck for that anyway. I think what it's not going to do anything, but they're also we're just kind of lame.
Okay, well, just so we're not all doom and gloom for hours on end today.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just trying to break it up a little bit because I do think that people do want to hear reality, but also some hope, because I think nobody wants to see the world burn because of one man, right? There is also the possibility of read some interviews with the ICC prosecutors, with one of the ICC prosecutors, and his opinion was that, if in the event that there was a regime change in Russia and there was some sort of negotiated deal to hand him over, that he could be prosecuted. So just putting that out there. Sean, go ahead.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. My question, I guess, is probably for the military guys, or maybe anyone, actually just anyone who could answer this question. I understand that at some point, something like 80% of Europe's oil imports were coming through pipelines that passed through Ukraine. I don't know if that's still the case. I would imagine Putin would have been far more hesitant to do this, if that were still true. But I'm wondering if that's still the case, and also whether or not defending those pipelines is part of Ukraine's objectives. Thanks.
William, do you want to jump in on Putin's objectives in regards to the pipelines?
I can. Well, I don't know about how much of Europe's oil or gas goes through there. That's not my specialty. What I can say is that, of course, Ukraine's going to attempt to defend its infrastructure. That would include, pipelines, electricity production. So yeah, they'll try, but the problem with the pipeline is you hit it anywhere and it blows. So pipelines are incredibly hard in this type of combat to protect. So while pumping stations or terminals are probably going to receive more protection just because they take a lot longer to build, and it's easier to protect one building versus 600 miles of pipe. I would say that on the level that they're going to weigh that target, it's probably pretty low right now. I would say the Ukrainians are probably worried about electricity production and water. So I would definitely say that the oil pipelines, terminals, and pumping stations, petro, not just oil, but I would definitely say they're probably on the lower end of the infrastructure priority list for Ukraine. And like I said, somebody else can speak to the dependence of Europe and how much that is and everything.
Just on the numbers, unless I'm making a mistake, Russia supplies about 40% of EU's natural gas imports, and most of the rest comes from Norway and Algeria. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. Just the thing that confuses me is I haven't seen much concern from the EU about their imports. They seem to think that they're relatively secure. So that leads me to believe that basically they started routing these imports around Ukraine, and that might explain some of the timing with Putin's war. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Queen, not to step on anybody real quick. I just wanted to say that they finished the third round of talks and didn't come out with anything.
No.
You're also doom and gloom in my space tonight. What is happening, boy?
Allowed to say that.
Supposed to be a meeting Thursday, I think, in Turkey between between Lavrov and I forget the Ukrainian foreign minister's name, but supposed to be meeting with the Turkish prime minister or president, whatever they call him there, Thursday. I don't expect those to go very far with Lavrov's.
What the heck are they talking about? Like, I don't, these meetings, it's driving me nuts.
It's virtue signaling. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's theater.
Sorry, William, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, these are theater for both of them. They need these so that they can show that they're trying a diplomatic solution. And, you know, the only thing that's going to happen on the next meeting is it's going to come out and either they'll announce something that never comes to pass, or they'll just say that they're still at an impasse, or, you know, depending on what goes on, Russia may surrender to Ukraine. We just don't know. But, you know, I don't see any of these diplomatic meetings really going anywhere until one or the other of them is on the ropes. Until either Russia becomes so destabilized by its civilian population because of the sanctions and the cutoffs and the dropping of the Iron Curtain, or until they take Kiev and some of the larger cities and the Ukrainians are back on their heels. Those are the only two times that we're going to see any type of diplomacy that will even begin to be enacted. And even on that, depending on what the situation is, you know, there may be diplomacy, but nobody's going to do dick or shit about it. So
the language in my space on top of the doom and gloom.
If you want the realistic view, if you want the realistic view, the eternal optimist, President Macron of France said he doesn't see anything improving anytime soon.
Oh, just fantastic. Throw in the French guy. No, I'm totally joking. I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. Question from the inbox. William, can't the US use stealth drones without being detected? I feel like DJI owes me a paycheck after me mentioning the word drone about 100 billion thousand times. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yay, and thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so stealth drones.
Can you explain what that is for us who don't know?
Yes, we have drones that have a smaller radar signature, which is all that stealth is. Every time them in the air, and again, they're the hard points on them fire US made equipment. It's not something that's possible. I think, and I've seen this throughout this space this time, and not well over the past 12 days. And I think it's really good that this is happening. But what I see happening is that people's understanding of our military capabilities that are fed to them through movies and fed to them through video games is starting to meet the reality of military capabilities. And it's interesting to get some of these questions because as someone in that military world, some of the questions, like I hear them and I'm like, God, that's ridiculous. But then looking at it, I'm like, okay, I can see why this person might believe that. So yes, there is such a thing as a stupid question, but we still need to answer them anyway.
You're just reaching all new levels of doom and gloom as this goes on. Altaf, go ahead.
Thanks, Quinn. My question is for William. As per the current Russian military movement, it looks like they want to landlock Ukraine and occupy as much of the Western territory and then occupy Kyiv and then move towards Moldova. Do you agree with this assessment? And also in 2020, Poland has bought 35 F-35 jets from US, right? So why today it is asking for additional jets to give MiG-29s to Ukraine? Thank you.
Okay, so two questions. So yes, we've already talked, like, it makes tactical sense that they would cut off Ukraine's sea routes. And I think that many of the units on the ground are still going with the initial battle plan, the plan of battle that was put out by the Russians when they invaded. Do I see them having the capacity to move on to another country after Ukraine? Probably not. If I was that country, I'd be petitioning for NATO and EU membership right this second. But I don't see that as realistic at this point in time. Will they get a land bridge to Crimea? It looks like they might, but given the tenacity of the Ukrainian military, I don't know if they're going to be able to hold that. We have seen multiple times where the Ukrainian military has counterattacked and taken back land, and the Russians, I mean, they're just trading it at this point. It's like a baseball card. It just keeps going back and forth. So yes, they're absolutely going to try to cut them off from the sea. Whether or not that's a possibility, I can't say. I mean, if you would have asked me 12 days ago what's going to happen when they invade, I would have said 48 hours Russia will have the whole country. So we're all building new assessments. As this develops and as new intel comes in on the Russians, I wouldn't put anything off the table, but I'm definitely going to say that the Russian capabilities are not as scary as what any of us were led to believe through any training that we've ever received. And I forgot what the second part of the question was.
Altaf, do you want to repeat the second part of the question?
Yeah. Poland in 2020 bought 35 F-35 jets from US, right? So why it is asking for additional jets to give away its MiG-29s to Ukraine? Now, I asked about Moldova because in Transnistria around 2,000 Russian troops are there and 10,000 militants are there. So Moldovan army is 4,000 strong. So they have a real chance of attacking. That's the reason I asked.
Oh yeah. So why would they want more? Every NATO country right now is asking for more. And if I was a NATO country in Eastern Europe, I would be asking for everything I can possibly get at this moment in time. Because once you start having a military operations literally right across your border, the potential for spillover, the potential for very catastrophic spillover becomes huge. And also the potential that you might get embroiled in that conflict becomes bigger. So Poland wants those not only so that they can maybe possibly provide some aircraft, which we've talked about, but they also want those because those aircraft being there and being flown by US pilots or British pilots or Italian pilots or Dutch pilots, depending on who's deployed there at that moment in time, it keeps certain bad actors from doing stupid things to Poland, because then they're not just getting into a war with Poland, they're getting into a war with all of us. And that's not even if Poland invokes Article 5. If we have a US fighter unit there and the Russians take down one of our jets, then they're in a war with Poland and with us. So that's why they were forward projecting those units there, and that's why those countries are asking that more units be stationed there.
I have a question from the inbox. How much military capacity does Russia have left? They've deployed all their forces in the area. What's left in the cupboard? William, have they deployed on their forces in the area? I kind of feel like they have more.
Yeah, they're pretty much at 100% of what they had staged for this. We have, there was lots of videos coming out yesterday and today about troop movements in Eastern Russia and other places where troops are moving towards the front in Ukraine. They have millions of men available. We've seen them pulling older equipment out of warehouses. So have they used up all of their available military? No. Have they pretty much used up everything that they've got right there, right now? Yes. Is that going to give the Ukrainians a lull? I hope it is. But also, you know, they can transport a lot of people and a lot of equipment in pretty quickly because of their railhead operations. Unless, of course, logistically, they're doing just as bad in Russia as they're doing in Ukraine. But if you look, there was even some videos of like dump trucks and garbage trucks with Z's painted on them on a train the other day. So, you know, they're bringing in everything that they possibly can. But if they don't get those logistical problems figured out, it doesn't matter how much they bring in if they can't feed it and they can't fuel it.
Hello?
Can you just hang on
Looks
one
like
second?
our other
Please,
speaker got cut off. Yeah, I've got a quick question
no.
on the strategic bombing campaign.
Well,
can you guys hear me?
Can you do me a favor? Can you just put your hand up? Because we're going kind of in order.
Hey, Dad, can you turn your mic off and put your hand up? Because we're going to go in order on the questions, bro.
Thank you. D-Watch News.
Yes, I've been organizing this so I can present it in a logical fashion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I want to do this at 5 o'clock today anyway, so we can get writers plugged into this and nonfiction writers and do some good work and figure out how this should be. Things should be verified, written up, covered, etc. Different ways of analyzing all that good stuff. But besides that, I have something I call the 3 R's that I think, and you all have been in the different spaces doing a great job of these. This is, of course, readiness and reconnaissance and resupply. That's my 3 R's for covering things like this. They're questions that any analyst or journalist should be asking about whenever they're trying to gather information and make sure they got the story straight. There's also morale, and then you've got some of the things that enter into that broader area of what I call hybrid warfare. You've got the social media stuff. You got various uses of cyber technology. You've got manufacturing and production. I was 11 years a national semiconductor in the calibration lab as a QA auditor and technician and file clerk and just everything. Let's see. There's something I'm leaving out, but you kind of get the idea. There's so many things that need to be paid attention to, so that a total picture of 21st century events, which range from the diplomatic to the soldier on the front lines, firing a weapon. It's. I know the Black Bloc, who I never agreed with, used to call that diversity of tactics. Well, there's a real diversity of tactics here, and it involves a full range of things. So I just wanted to point out that that's how I'm organizing things. Once again, the 3 R's are that way I see it are readiness, reconnaissance, and resupply, and then you've got the other things that I mentioned, and morale, of course.
Thank you.
And any comments on this? Anybody want to run with that and fill in any information on any of those? That's a lot more current than I am.
William, do you want to chime in on that?
Well, I think we've had about 12 days of filling all those in. So
okay. Yeah. I just wanted to stress them again to remind people that those are the baskets we put the information into.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we've tried to organize it here, and I agree with you. Those are the 3 main R's, and that's a great way to organize it.
I want to point out some stuff in the nest. German Chancellor Scholz suggested today that Germany would not support energy sanctions on Russia, saying that Russian energy is of essential importance to daily life there. This goes back to the question before. I forgot who asked for the percentages of how much of Russian gas is EU dependent on. So this would be that 40% coming into play. And then Patrick Fox, who is a military analyst who's been in my spaces, all of our spaces, I think, he just threw a smackdown on this, where he said that you can't trust the German government to do the right thing. Sorry, guys, can you just mute your mics when you're not speaking so there's no background noise? He keeps saying, Patrick said, German government must be browbeaten, shamed, coerced, and threatened. And then watch like a hawk. So classic Patrick candor. I will go to, I'm sorry, I think it was Gage. Gage, go ahead.
Hi, Queenie. I just saw this tweet from Patrick Fox, and I wanted to add to that. Since I'm from Montenegro, I have to say that now German government was directly responsible for installing clero-fascist, pro-Russian, pro-Serbian parts of Montenegrin government, and they are still promoting quotes from those parts of the government, especially Viola von Kramon. So yeah, we have a big problem with that, especially in Balkans, which can grow to be a very big issue for NATO, since Montenegro is NATO country, but the security forces or security system was penetrated and is still penetrated by Russian intelligence companies and whatnots. So yeah, to add to that problem, any comments will be very, very, very sorry. Anyways, I'm done.
Thank you. I think yeah. So the general question being, people keep asking in all the spaces about other problems areas, Moldova, Georgia, Balkans. We can go into all of these. I think, William, what do you want to do?
Hold on, what was the question? I was reading DMs.
The question was about, I think the question is about what the current situation impacting the Balkans, Montenegro.
Actually, Russian capability to export crisis, especially in Balkans or other countries.
Yeah.
I think that's better suited for actually you and other people with a good grasp of the Balkans. Like I said, I think initially they were planning on that, but we all know that this did not go as initially planned. So I don't see it being exported unless, a year or two from now, they've taken over Ukraine and they can solidify their position there, restock their troops. I just don't see it happening. You also have to take a look at, when it comes to the Balkans, they have been pretty much in constant conflict for about 500 years or so. And the people there are not, and we saw it in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We're seeing it now. The people there are not pushovers, and they've been beaten down for so long, like what's going on in Ukraine right now, that they're not just going to roll over. And the Russians had the assessment that they were. And the longer that Ukraine holds on and the longer that this goes on, the more emboldened the rest of the Balkans become when it comes to Russian aggression. So Yes, initially I think they were planning on doing it. I don't see it happening anymore.
William, just to correct you a bit, and one advice: pay close attention on what's happening now in Montenegro and in Northern Macedonia, especially those two countries, not Bosnia, because NATO has its troops in Bosnia right now.
No, NATO doesn't have any troops in Bosnia. EUFOR troops are in Bosnia.
EUFOR, regardless,
So
they're all NATO countries.
But I wasn't saying that. I was saying based off of the history of that region.
Yeah, I understand.
Based on that history, there is a term which is called balkanization.
No, I think you didn't understand. You didn't understand.
More or less self-explanatory.
Gage, I don't think you understood what he's trying to say.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, I'll try and summarize this really quickly, and then we have lots of questions about Ukraine, and we need to get back to them. Had everything gone for Putin as well as he had hoped, yes, maybe this crisis could have been a little bit more successfully, quickly exported to other parts of the world. However, as we know, William has said, and William, correct me if I'm wrong here, that the expectation was that he was going to steamroll through Ukraine, set up a new puppet state within 48 hours, right? We're on now day 10, 11, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it day 11? 12. Day 12 of the war. So he's very severely overcalculated that. I think what Putin can do is stir up instability in the region. Just to put it really bluntly, make people really scared, stir up ethnic conflicts, undermine institutions through his proxies, and all the rest of it. But we do have to remember that Montenegro is still in NATO, which is a big point, and that we have other parts of Europe that are more at risk, like, for example, Moldova. Moldova is the much more at risk of a security crisis developing as a result of what's going on in Ukraine. I'm going to have to give the mic to, I think it's Zed plus Bitcoin plus Tesla. Tesla? Yes. Zed, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the spaces. I fully disagree that we should not be looking to what's next. I think it seems that we can take some action. We can put pressure on these companies to pull out, and we've seen a lot of movement on that, and that's great progress. So I've been all over Twitter trying to shame these people, writing emails and stuff like that. That's actions that we can take right now, right here. And also, I'll ask Queen if you wouldn't mind just like maybe having a list of current companies in the nest on your daily things about companies that we can focus on in Russia that's still doing business. And then also another one is there are apparently some U.S. politicians that are speaking out against the U.S.'s aiding of Ukraine. And so maybe they should be dropped into the nest on a daily basis so we can keep an eye on who is where these people stand. And maybe when we go to the ballot box next time, we can keep that in mind. And finally, Queen, question for you. So, and out of total respect for this space, I respect you all here and I appreciate this. So you are suggesting people to donate to UNICEF, and I'm not going to say a name of any other place to donate right now out of respect for the space, but I will ask you: is there a reason that you're pointing people in that direction versus the one that Walter talks about on his spaces? I won't mention the name.
No, I mentioned. Okay, sorry. I'll just go from the beginning for the things you suggested, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. List of companies still doing business in Russia. Let's name and shame them and basically cancel their asses. Yes, good suggestion. I will do that. I will do that on the daily, and so also please retweet that, guys. I will add to that. It's a list of companies, but those companies can get around sanctions through subsidiaries, which sucks, but that's another element to that. List of politicians that are speaking against kind of the US helping the Ukrainian effort. Let's know who they are and what their positions are, so you know going to the ballot box who was on the right side of history. Yes, definitely. Okay, yeah, I can do those two things for you for sure. I did mention Walter's website as well. I'm actually going to be doing a fundraising thing for Walter's website, so please keep an eye on that as well. Please, RT. And UNICEF. I mentioned UNICEF because
that's breaking up, Queen. Just so you know, is it breaking up for anybody else?
Sorry, where did you not hear me?
I could hear
that last part, the Walter.
Okay. I do mention Walter and I mentioned UNICEF. I mentioned both of them. I will be doing.
Can you all hear her?
Can
yeah,
everyone
I hear you.
We are able to hear her.
I hear you fine.
I can hear her.
Sorry, my issue.
So
No, it's okay.
It seems like everybody's
if you don't hear
having
me,
their own
just
little audio
jump into my
issue.
DMs and I'll
It's
repeat.
not just me.
I mentioned Walter's website and UNICEF. I will be actually doing a fundraising thing for Walter's website as soon as I get a minute. Absolutely, you can say the name of the website here. People should donate to that. I mentioned UNICEF because we've talked about this before. There are casualties in Ukraine, and there's also 1.3 million refugees, creating a massive humanitarian crisis that are going to need assistance. There's going to be a massive humanitarian crisis on top of already a massive refugee crisis in Europe, and that I think like people have forgotten about. We already had a refugee crisis in Europe. Now that's been made worse by 1.3 million extra refugees from Ukraine and counting. So there's now total over 70 million people in the world that are displaced and refugees. And I think those numbers are astounding. I mean, that's all the Balkans twice. And
Hello, Iron. How you doing? And keep
twice.
calm.
And
keep calm. Yes. I was just going to actually intervene here. I'm just going to stop it and say that when I started watching this or listening to the stream, how was this? It was very much people on the ground, things are changing, and it was like dynamic, right? Putin was attacking, Ukraine was defending, nobody knew what was going on. They were all trying to report just the Russian successes or failures, and it was mainly failures, and it was a lot of fun for everybody in those first few days. But now they're reporting more on fundraising, and I think that would have been prompted by the fact that there's now a humanitarian crisis of at least 1 million people that have left Ukraine, and I'm sure a pretty good chunk of them are sitting on the other side of Ukraine's borders to I don't know, Romania and Poland, and I don't know who else borders Ukraine on the west. But with that having happened, Putin's invasion of Ukraine and it having failed, at least they've failed. I mean, what have they accomplished other than wreckage and carnage and death? I don't know if Putin has much further to go in Ukraine. So I'm wondering if the Baltic states, like Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia, are a little bit nervous. I don't know if they're part of NATO. They might be, and I don't know even know if they're part of the EU. They might be, but Putin's kind of got nowhere to go. The only thing he can do in Ukraine is step up the stress by, exponentially, like literally take over big cities and terrorize the country and the world. I mean, nobody knows what to do. We're at the appeasement stage right now in this conflict where we know appeasement's going to fail. All right, so we know appeasement's going to fail. It always does against a tyrant. But people in the West are so fucking stupid. Let me ask you this. If at the end of the Second World War, as soon as Germany was denazified, what if at that point America, the United States, went into Russia, just went and took over and de-Stalinized Russia? What if that had happened? Would it have been an absolute and total disaster? If it had been a total disaster, would it have made any difference in the long run, in the long term? And would we have the net effect being, would the net effect being that we would have been better off without a strong Soviet Union from the very beginning? Because that would have prevented North Korea, 100%. We wouldn't have a child dictator worse than Putin person sitting in North Korea today. Why do you call this a clickbait title? What did I call it? I called it Russia's invasion of Europe. And I'm talking about Russia's invasion of Europe right now. You're welcome to provide some feedback, a response, a rebuttal, if it were to be a rebuttal. I don't mind, because I'm just telling you what I think, and obviously none of us think the same. Putin does not want Ukraine to be NATO. It's a strategic move on multiple fronts. Yes, I get it. I do get it, what Putin wants. Putin does not want. But the thing is, Putin has declared war on Ukraine and invaded Ukraine. Now, what's he going to do? It's been nearly 2 weeks. The plan was I'm sure, was to get in there, get your cities, get everybody to surrender, have the upper hand, control Ukraine, and then, be the king, emperor, take it from there. But he's failed. He's fast become the April 1945 Hitler. Pretty soon we're going to see him with his stooped shoulders and his in his grey ashen face. I don't know what's going to happen, but literally, Putin, if the Ides of March, which are coming in 8 days' time, if the Ides of March are to be substantiated, we've got 8 days until Putin dies. Next 8 days are crucial. Everybody's saying, oh, the next 24 hours, the next week. I've been hearing that since the beginning of the dispute. Since before the beginning of the dispute. You know, a week before or 2 weeks before. This week! It's going to happen this week. If it doesn't happen this week, it's not going to happen. 2 weeks later. This week! I mean, you can say that every week, and eventually somebody's going to be correct. It happened. You see, I told you it was going to happen this week. Ukraine is not Europe. Bullshit. Ukraine. Everybody loves Ukraine in Europe, in America, in Britain. Everybody loves Ukraine. Ukraine colors everywhere. You tell me, yeah, Ukraine is not Europe. Ukraine is as accepted in Europe as any other country already accepted in Europe. Ukraine just joined them. Putin just moved Ukraine into the European Union. I don't think there's any way that Ukraine does not join the European Union. They can't. Putin's just fucked right up. No one likes what he's done. No one understands what he's done. Sure, Putin, I agree. Putin does not want Ukraine in NATO. But by invading Ukraine, to say that he doesn't want them in NATO has pretty much caused him a lot of embarrassment. Let's face it. Maybe I should put my headphones in, because I don't know if there's any what am I trying to say? If there's any feedback. Anyway, just give me a moment to fix this little problem. Okay, am I fixing it? I think I'm not so sure. Okay, I'm just going to try and play some sound to see if I fix something. Let's just see if we can pick up the.
And the resources to do it.
Can you hear that?
That can you make a good point, and it concerns me. That's all.
Neo, ask a one. Do you want to chime in?
Hey, yeah, and I just like to say again, thank you, Queen, for hosting the space. Thank you, William, for giving all the lots of your insightful military knowledge. I guess I just like to comment on the regime change aspect of it. I think that you're absolutely, and I think the people in the space are absolutely right to worry that after Putin is gone.
Putin's gone. See.
There'll still be this kind of nationalism, this like desire.
I switched off the. I think I switched off the. Yes, I switched off the closed caption, so that should help. Well, I'll tell you what. I gotta bring this chat up. Chat. The audio is still going, so there definitely is audio drag and lag.
A Nova Russia. I think that Russia. A Nova Russia. I think that Russia definitely is available.
Russia. Alright, it could be because I'm just moving shit around here and setting it up. Just give me a sec. soon as I start clicking and moving stuff, then my resources really start to maximize. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? If not for you. Beautiful. All right. I'll be answering your questions in 2 seconds. I think, therefore I think. All right. Oh. I'm gonna just set something up a little bit different. Shit. Hey.
Person morally who
Sorry. I even forgot that still on.
No, he is, an ardent nationalist.
We don't even know who he's talking about. It's so bad the audio is. But just bear with me. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. Okay, I'll put that there. And I'll put... Oh, I'm getting video errors. Video error. Did you hear that? Trump wants to start a war between China and Russia.
And evolve.
Yeah.
Was literally experts, PhDs and such, that were talking about Russian politics and, where Russia is and where their population is. And what came out of that, and I've said this before, and over since this morning, so I'll say it again.
You're moving, yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm still working on it. Feverishly, actually. Feverishly.
Connected to the world, and they're
bullshit. Bullshit. All right, so there you go. I got that there. And now what I was thinking of doing. Could you guys hang out there, hang on there for me? I'll be trying to actually leave that. Yeah.
To look into that crystal ball, and I'm definitely not the guy with an expertise in Russian society at this point to where I can make a definitive statement on any of that.
Okay, I have a question from the inbox. His motivation for
Juzark, did you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty simple. Odessa is their main port. You essentially cut them off from any kind of sea access. That leaves them with the land bridges, or not land bridges, but the land material.
Either in or out.
I don't know how many farmers will be harvesting in the midst of a war, but seems like they're busy harvesting tanks at the moment.
Okay, I got my mic on. Something's happening with these. Ah. Ah. Now, we lost the audio again, of course.
Continue to pursue an invasion of Ukraine if there was regime change. I don't be.
All right, I'll tell you what's gonna happen now.
Because I think if there is regime change,
yeah, it's just too choppy. If you can get rid of it, switch it off. Yeah, switch it off. And just us. Let's see if we can get just us going. Okay. Firstly, I'm just going to recognize who's here. Who's here, yeah. I actually don't know who's here. There's four people. So maybe if I mention 4 people, let's see. David S. No one really matters but cats. I really like it when you're here watching us or with us. Iron Charioteer. Okay. Iron Charioteer, my friend. I'm gonna teach you stuff. History is what I like. I like to learn it, and I like to. I'm not a teacher, but I like to learn it, and I like to share it. That's what I like to do. So, I suspect that my channel going forward will be a lot more history centric and a whole lot less politically centric. I don't think that politics is really something that I can be 100% committed to. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure. Because people make decisions, and based on those decisions, I either accept them, reject them, neutral, whatever, right? But if they're under the umbrella of a organization, excuse me, that feels better. If they're under the umbrella of an organization that I support or don't support, then it's a little bit hypocritical, isn't it? If a person under the umbrella of an organization makes decisions about issues that I sometimes support, sometimes don't support, then it's difficult for me to say I'm, I'm this type, umbrella type. So I'll keep it down to individuals maybe, but politics, I'm done with labels. It's actually the labels makes it worse. The labels make it oh, get ready this. The labels makes no, I have an itchy nose. But the labels makes the whole issue, makes every issue more incoherent. So no more labels. Issues, personal opinions on issues, and of course the activism, the atheist activism, the quest for all atheists to unify and reject mythology, reject theology as having any pedestal of importance. It's all crap. Hello. Oh, Wesley's here. Hello, Wesley. You got an apartment. Congratulations, buddy. Got an apartment? Seriously? Nice. The Iron Charioteer says you like history from trusted sources. Well, I don't think you've ever read a history book in your life. Yes, I joined Iron Charioteer by saying congratulations on the new place. Well done. So you got an apartment. So your internet now is in your apartment, and you have cooking facilities. You'll soon have internet. Is that what you're saying? Soon have internet. Are you in your apartment right now, Wesley? Are you in your apartment? Oh shit! I forget. There's a 20-second delay between what I say and when it appears on YouTube. I thought I disabled it, but it didn't. 200 bucks a month. Oh my God, that's great. Listen, I hope you stay there for a very, very long time and are happy and can afford it and make friends. And if you ever need a place to talk to people, if you can't connect in real life, you know that you can come in here and have a little bit of a say. And I'm gonna monitor you, Wesley, because you and I both know that there's somewhat of an illusion to your outlook or to your presentation of yourself to us. I don't think that you really believe that all this Jesus stuff. I just think it's a way to cope, for you to cope. Now that you're in the apartment, the stress of living under a bridge, of course, is gone. So hopefully you can convert that stress to something more, real, something in the real realm, and not in the mythological, theological, whatever realm. A year lease, very nice. Very I don't need to read history books. I was there. At least some of my Adams were there. Fair enough. I agree. Then that must mean that you have to read mythology books and theological books and fiction books because you weren't there. Who knows? Maybe some of your atoms were in the writer of the fiction, but that's a lot weaker an argument than the one for being there in history. What's the best thing about being a rabbi? The best thing about being a rabbi is no one tells me what to believe. No one tells me what to believe. Good, Wesley. We can have some real history talks. I love history, but I don't like history that's uncertain. I like facts. I like certainty. So what should we do? Should we try and should we try and listen to some see if we can connect to some. Let's see if we can connect.
Stop here.
No, you're okay. I know that it's interesting and heavy and a pretty big topic. So I just want to differentiate between a couple of things, and I'll just give William the mic. I think what the foreign minister, whose name we can't pronounce, is referring to. When we say rational agent, he doesn't mean that in the moral sense of the word. At least that's not how I understood it, because obviously, morally speaking, invading another country and committing war crimes against its people is not rational, right?
That's funny.
I think what a rational agent means somebody who is, acting rationally according to a set of facts or a set of assumptions, facts presented in front of him, and based on, what those three things I said, in that economic military sense of the world, I see how that decision could have been made. I'm not saying it's a right one. I see how that argument can be made. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. And I certainly think that time will tell how it's going to develop. And I will agree with you. I'm not inclined to go with any of the conspiracy theories about him having cancer and this, that, and the third. William, did you want to?
Yeah, the performance goes way down when I start interacting with my computer.
Jump in.
Way. So I can either interact with you, or just wait until this.
Next, and then it's Devin.
See what happens. See if it calms down.
From Poland's border. So if the Russian military has any intention of invading there, that's going to be quite an issue. Thanks.
Yeah, no. It's
no.
We've it's going to take.
try that. See if we can get more of a feedback.
A lot more than when it comes to NATO and NATO countries is if there are Russian tanks that are rolling across their borders. Other than that, or unless, you know, they straight up bomb them or something. Other than that, it's just not going to happen.
Every time they say it's just not going to happen,
and that's my assessment. Anybody else
just
got
not
an
going to
assessment
happen,
that's different?
and then it happens.
No.
So you think if Poland tried to invoke Article 5, you think it would be ignored in that scenario?
I definitely think it would be ignored in that scenario. It has to be enough of an event because you have to remember, in order for Article 5 to be invoked successfully, it has to be a unanimous vote at NATO. So the event has to be big enough to convince everyone in NATO that it's time to go to war.
I'm not surprised, Iron.
I'm still getting a lot of drone questions in the inbox.
No.
Are you just sick of drone questions?
I'm sick of drone questions. I will answer them, but damn it, I hate them. Can we let Devin talk first since he's been there forever?
Yeah, we can. I didn't know you didn't realize you were going to get so triggered about the D word. Go ahead, Devin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say something quickly before I ask my question. I think Queen has been doing an amazing job at hosting this space, and not to get into the weeds here, but you know, there's lots of studies and stuff about how gendered war is, and it's really nice to have a woman on a panel, you know, talking about this stuff, especially when other spaces have been, you know, yelling matches of too much testosterone. So I really appreciate how you've been handling this. And also, William, I, you know, as a person with ADHD as well, I appreciate the exposure in your bio, so I think that's cool too. But I wanted to talk about specifically, I've seen two videos today, I think.
Oh, I'm going to turn my camera off and see if that helps.
Because I know there's lots of, you know, dissenting from citizenry. At what point, and how, you know, I know this is hard to measure, but at what point do we start to feel more sympathetic for the Russian people? And I know that, you know, we are sympathetic to those that want to protest and those that have been arrested, but kind of the broader people that are very, very brainwashed and are, you know, actively being stopped on their own streets and, you know, being cut off from services and companies. At
Do you have anybody else here with an understanding of Russian society?
So, Devin, I guess I'm on my own. Thank you for your kind comments about the spaces. We're definitely doing our best. I get your sentiment, right? If you control all this media, you control what people consume every day. At what point is it really their decision what they believe in anymore, right? Because if you kind of hypnotize them, for lack of a better term, and you saturate them with one message and narrative, and then you scare them, are they really held responsible for supporting Putin? I see where you're coming. I see your point. I definitely think, you know, your 75-year-old Russian grandma somewhere in America selling, you know, common Putin allies are living in Russia, right? And you know, you've never been outside the borders, and all you ever seen is state-controlled media, and now you know, prices are sky high. You can't really get money out of the bank. You can't send or receive money. You know, you might have even lost your job. Your ruble's worth nothing. All of a sudden, your family has, you know, all of these huge economic strains. I can sympathize with that as a human being, for sure. I can. It's a very tough moral conundrum, because while we do vote, and I believe when we vote, we take some responsibility for the government we put in power. At the same time, we have to live in a system that enables us actual true democracy. I don't have a really good answer for you.
Could I ask a?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
No,
could I ask a very quick follow-up question? Something more practical that you might be able to answer.
Yeah.
So that was a very good answer. Thank you. So I know that like there are groups that aren't associated with governments that are kind of, you know, finding loopholes with, you know, things like Telegram and, you know, peer-to-peer encryption and that kind of stuff. Do we know of any more public any public government efforts to get better information into Russia? Like, do we know anything about that, or is that kind of all hidden?
I don't know anything about it. I've heard Snowflake in previous spaces where people are trying to get information to Russia. See, at this point, I'm kind of you know, I'm kind of torn about that, because here's how I see it. If I was to try and just to break this down, if I was to try and get some information to, you know, somebody, let's say someone your age who is, and I tell him, hey, listen, no one's attacking you, your government is invaded this country, people are dying, you're destroying cities, WTF, go out in the street, do something about this. The thing is with that is, if you energize people in that kind of way, you know, you're also handing them to the mercenaries of their own state police that are going to arrest them and throw them in jail at best. And I find that to be really hard moral highway to go down. I just wouldn't be comfortable giving someone supporting that, you know. It's a really, really, really hard moral conundrum for me. I wish I had a better answer.
That's incredibly insightful. Thank you.
It
seems to me that the government is kind of what we have, or the military itself has to kind of revolt in order for anything to change internally.
And I will also add, when all this is over, and I know we're all like doom and gloom on these spaces, right? Like the sky's falling, everything's burning down, right? I actually am eternally an optimist. I do believe this will end. I do believe he'll be removed from that government will see an end one way or another. I do actually believe that. When that is over, I would want to see, you know, it's one thing you have to kind of dismantle entire institutions and systems, not just one regime, in order to really cultivate.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Freddie.
Hey, Queen, can I jump in really fast? I'm sorry but I want to give a little bit of a perspective. So just very short background. My family are Swedes from Ukraine. I know that sounds super random and weird, but they're all Russian speakers because they're from the Soviet Union. So oni все говорят по-русски. So I have, you know, at least a lingual connection to the Russian world. And I come at it from this perspective, from a family being part of this world, even though they're from Ukraine. Nonetheless, from my viewpoint, what the West has to do with the Russian people is a public diplomacy, and even in a sense, information warfare. Is that you're not our enemy. To the everyday, we want you to. In fact, your history is much more aligned with the West, in the good and the bad and everything in between. Your culture And that needs to be reinforced over and over again to every outlet we have access to. Especially to the younger generations, and if we can get to the... I do think there's culpability, but I don't think you can blame it on the people in the sense of the extreme, because that's a very, very complex question and far deeper philosophically than I'm capable. Of expressing, but Russia, we don't want this. We never wanted this.
Freddie, sorry, just to interject just a little bit. I would stay away from words like culpability, but more something like responsibility insofar as who you vote for. Because I believe as a principle, we Freddie?
I don't think anybody wanted to go.
Never mind. All right.
And we'll need to invoke Article 5 in case of a nuclear accident as well. Thanks.
Oh, this one's easy and quick. No. And pretty much in any time that you end up in a combat situation, you want to hold infrastructure. Those nuclear power plants power the whole country. Any make a dirty bomb or something. They have more than enough stuff to do stupid things like that should they choose to. It's absolutely them just securing the infrastructure, and it's standard military operating procedures. So no, but good question.
Yeah, I have a question on same line. Sorry.
Invest, can you raise your hand? We
Sure.
have some other people that were actually waiting before you. Armani, I believe you're on deck.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for letting me speak and hosting this space. I just wanted to touch on something that Devin said earlier in regards to the Russian people being brainwashed. I think that's not a correct thing to say, because that just makes it seem that people in other countries that don't live in America don't that I've been in their spaces before. Her name is Zoya. I've been in their spaces before, and they have like a
all right, this lousy audio thing is not working for me, so I'm going to just stop. Try something else. So let me just leave that. Oh, let me leave. Please let me leave. Oh, look at that. Let me leave. Okay. All right, so I decided that rather than listening to them raise funds for donations, because that's all they got left, I think that we would be better served trying to resolve the situation. Why is Putin calling some Ukrainians neo-Nazis? Damn good question. So I'm going to open up this room, okay? Hopefully we'll have some better luck. Okay, so there's going to be a, here's the link. There's the press link. And I'm also going to give you, especially for those who don't want to join through the link, they can join on the phone. I think I should put that also on the screen. All right, so everybody who wants to join can either join by calling in if you're in North America. Right there. Or, alternatively, you can just click the link in the, did I pin it? No, didn't pin it. I'm going to pin it. And you can join. There we go. And on the screen, I've left the join. There you go. All right. So, what I do have to do is try and get my camera. See, I had this problem yesterday. I had this problem yesterday where I couldn't get my camera into this Jitsi because it was on in OBS. That's what. So really what I have to do So while I'm waiting for anybody to come in, while I'm waiting for you people to come in, I'm going to try and get this, get my image, get this this camera here onto the meet, okay? I believe that in order to do that, I should switch it off. All right, switch it off. There we go. Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah. So here's the thing. The idea is to try and get the camera in here working. If anybody has any suggestions, technical or otherwise, do pop them in to pop them in. Let's check. Ah, all right, come on in. Okay, let's see if I can get this camera going. Ooh, maybe it's just a little bit of tugging and pulling. Ooh, looks like one's coming on. Try the other one. Come on, there's two people left. Surely you could just press a button. Okay, I want to try something else. Thank you for being here during the guinea pig stage of this broadcast. Okay. Let's try. Come on. Let's try it again. Select the device. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my what I'm going to do is I'm going to and deactivate this camera out of OBS. Now that it's deactivated, let me try again. Okay. Now, Deactivated in OBS. That should come up in here, shouldn't it? Well, how about I just that and just let it roll, let it rip. Let's see what happens. Oh, Iron, you're at work. So is Kitty, mother of all cats. You have such a long name. I can't remember the whole thing. Nothing matters but cats. Yeah, video settings. Well, let me just see if I can get at least one of the cameras working, if not the other. All right, so let me see if this one works. Come on, switch on, babies. Switch on. Oh, crap. Hold on a sec. I did something, I think. Why wouldn't it work? Oh. I might just try and find the Ukraine stream, but I'm just trying to get one other thing. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day if nobody wants to join into the actual conversation. Because whether I get the video issue solved or not, if there's no one here to talk to, it doesn't matter. Does it? Well, you might be able to tell. See, from here, you can tell that it works. No one works. That camera works. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Okay, if that camera works through OBS, which it obviously does, and let's try another camera. Let's try that one. See, that one I'm trying to get to work. Let's see what's done. Well then, I'm not having much luck with the camera onto into Jitsi. Wonder why. I guess I should start up for the camera in Jitsi before I start OBS. It's probably what I'll do next time. I'll just start off with next time with the aim of getting people to join me. That's annoying, isn't it? Just sit there in front. That's annoying too. I just got rid of myself. Yeah. So next time I'll just get the Jitsi to try and start. And we'll see if we get the room going. And maybe if I can, I'll get the audio, the discussion about the wars and stuff in the background. But at this point, the audio is really so laggy and unpredictable on those on the war front that I'd rather have a stable this interface. But I've got to get the camera resolved. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is thank you once again for joining me, because I will open it up again. I've always got something to work on and a new idea. It might work, it might not work, but either way, I'll be back and we'll try something else. I'll be your guinea pig. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And please, stay rational.